What's up everybody, this is A7X Van Ben, and welcome to another video battle report. So this is for a game I played with my friend Stefan. We each controlled two 60-point fleets, so it was pretty much like a 4-fleet 60-point game, similar to 4 players, but instead we had 2 fleets per player. And the way it works is it's not an alliance between the fleets. We're basically controlling them independently. So it's kind of a way to simulate a 4-player game when you only have 2 people. So I basically use 2 fleets that I'll include in the description below. Map Chaos, which is the one I was really excited about, and then Inflated Gold Scores as well. So he used an English fleet, so HMS Titan, HMS Dover, HMS Lady Provost, and he chose a Great Turtle as his home island. He actually rolled a d6 to see if it would be movable or not, and it turned out it was. So that's kind of a fun little thing to start off with. And then this is my Inflated Gold Scores fleet. So the main goal of this fleet is actually to inflate the scores of all the players rather than just this fleet. So instead of just trying to get gold bonuses in my fleet, they had UTs and stuff to try to increase gold scores across the entire map. So kind of a weird gimmick fleet idea. And Ophidius is in there because it has that ability where if you win a boarding party against it, you can deposit segments for gold at your home island. So, and then Steven had a Spanish fleet as well. This one with El Corazado, La Santa Isabel, and La Monarca. And this is the Map Chaos fleet, home island. They also have a set of American native canoes that are at a wild island. So basically the map, we had 3 terrain per player and a bunch of mysterious islands. Some of them were great turtles, and then some of them were contributed by the Inflated Gold Scores fleet, and those were based on the theme. So those mysterious islands can either replace coins with coins of greater value from your collection, or there's also ones that you can yank in new coins that are equal to or less than the value of coins you took. So, and that latter one was the first one they docked at. So the native canoes redocked to basically try to trigger that ability. One of them was able to get a 5 or 6 to trigger the mysterious island effect, but the problem was the other canoes all rolled 1 or 2, which basically the negative effect of that mysterious island is you move a treasure coin on the island to a different wild island. So it was actually the negative effect kind of bit them. It looked like it would be a good thing because they actually flung it closer to home, and Santa Isabel was able to explore the other mysterious island that they flung the extra coins to via Round Earth. So Santa Isabel, if you look back at the first picture, she started up in the northeast, and then she round earthed to the northwest where they flung the coins. The canoes are in the southwest out of view there. So Santa Isabel docked here, explored. There were 8 coins. The problem is one of them was message in a bottle. So that UT was included by the Map Chaos fleet, because Map Chaos, the whole fleet goal there is to basically obviously create chaos in the map via moving terrain, moving ships, the lost UT to generate more terrain. So basically, long story short, message in a bottle, warp with the Santa Isabel to this island. So before she was able to load any of the non-unique treasures from that northwestern island where there were 8 coins total. And she also found Witch's Brew, which is also included by the Map Chaos fleet. So here looks like the end of the first round approximately. So the English have sailed out, gone a little bit east. Lady Provost explored, Dover explored. My Spanish fleet is in the process of exploring a little bit as well. Isabella's headed out with Ophidius, and this is actually a slightly modified version of my Inflated Gold Scores fleet. So Isabella is there instead of Concepcion, and then Lightning was standing in for Le Pique, because Le Pique was actually in the Map Chaos fleet, and I didn't want to punch another one or use a proxy, so I just used Lightning instead of Le Pique. I still had a +2 gold crew and navigator, so similar setup. And then Stefan's Spanish have split up a little bit. Monarca headed south, Corazado and Santa Isabel headed north. And then Map Chaos, they actually gave their canoes move actions, but used them to move the Great Turtle towards their home island. So they moved it closer to Le Pique, so she might be able to get there in less actions. and then Sea Hag went into the fog bank so that she would be able to pop out of a different one on the next turn. So Isabella explored and found sunken treasure, unique treasure, and I got a solid roll with it, 9 gold overall, and of course that would decrease by 1 at the beginning of each turn of my turns, the Spanish turn. So it wouldn't be worth 9 if she was able to get it back, but still a nice roll for that UT. And the Whirlpool UT yanked her to the nearest Whirlpool, and then she used it to teleport to a different one. Because by this point, I should mention that too. Okay, so by this point in the previous picture, the English found Lost early in the game, and they actually rolled a 6 with it to bring in a maximum 6 new terrain into the game. So that was exactly what the Map Chaos fleet wanted. Map Chaos is a weird fleet. It's like, it's got some good game pieces in it, like the American Native Canoes, but their main goal is to create, Map Chaos. So they were really happy to see that 6 roll, even if it wouldn't benefit them. They were just happy to see more terrain brought into the game. So the English brought in, I think, 2 icebergs, 1 or 2 fog banks, a trade current, and a whirlpool. So that first whirlpool is near the Titan right there, and then the one they brought in is there, the one they added via the Lost UT. And that's the one that Isabella took via the Whirlpool UT. Sea Hag popped out of a fog bank with the fog hop ability and got an extra action via the Rattlesnake, who had the Return to Savage Shores version of George Washington LeBeau aboard. So it's kind of like the American version of Lord Micron. So I was using the crew chip of the regular LeBeau to stand in for the RTSS version. So Sea Hag got good enough cannon rolls to dismass Monarcha, and I intentionally did not sink the ship because I was planning to capture it, because Sea Hag has Commander Temple aboard as well. So the Lightning docked at this island, got a bad roll. Same thing happened to Santa Isabel. So this one says the next time you give the ship a move action roll, D6, and then on a result of 1 through 5, she can't move. So both of these ships had that happen, and both got stuck, but only for a turn. So it's not too terrible of a negative effect. So, all right. So here, Lady Provost is transferring the Knights of Malta banner UT to HMS Titan, because with that, Titan might be able to get more gold for the English fleet by going on a rampage and eliminating masts, which for every mast eliminated, it's worth 1 gold more for the UT. The Spanish were struggling at this point because Isabella had already taken 3 of the coins from this great turtle, so Santa Isabel only could find a 3 there. So the Spanish were not looking too good on gold, especially with Monarcha captured. So by this point, Sea Hag had captured Monarcha, used Commander Temple to warp both ships home. Monarcha is now part of the Map Chaos fleet and is repairing. And Le Pique has found a couple of really good coins, a couple silver 6s at this great turtle that were contributed by the Inflated Gold Scores fleet, because that fleet uses silver explorers as well to try to further enhance their money generation capacity. So, and then the Map Chaos fleet, their canoes found some decent coins as well. So they've grabbed some of those and are starting to head home, possibly through the fog bank and the Dead Man's Chest UT from Caribbean, which is also part of the Inflated Gold Scores treasure contribution. They found that one. So, and throughout this game, there were a lot of 3s rolled. You see this 3 iceberg at the bottom. We got a ton of 3 rolls on the iceberg. Like that iceberg moved a lot, and I think I want to say there were at least 3 or 4 times that I rolled 2 3s in a row with the iceberg rolls. So I got a 3 to trigger this one, and then I rolled another 3 to move it in that direction. So it's kind of weird, but anyway, that was one of the things the English brought in via Lost. Not that iceberg specifically, but they brought in icebergs so that eventually we had at least 1 of each number, and then we had a couple 1s because we had the huge 1 iceberg and a regular size one as well. So English have brought home a bunch of gold. The Map Chaos canoes are still headed towards the fog bank here. At this point, the Spanish up in the top left are in the northwest corner, back at that first island they explored, because that was the one with all the 8 coins on it. A lot of them were not great values. There were a lot of 2s there. I think at least 1 1. But basically, they're trying to milk that island for everything it's worth. I realized I made some cargo gaffes though. Not like accidental cheating, but basically just I should have not taken all the coins on Santa Isabel, so they got bogged down. I eventually re-explored the island to dump coins back for a lot of different reasons. Santa Isabel wanted the Runes of Magic UT, which they had found there, but they were kind of keeping it in reserve because they weren't going to use it right away. So she dumped that. Lightning dumped that back to the island so Santa Isabel could pick it up. That way, Lightning, with only one card space open, could load another coin, which she would be able to use Jenny Gallows' +2 gold ability to plus up. And basically, the inflated gold scores is kind of a classic gold factory strategy where they were trying to unload every individual coin one at a time so that their ships throughout their fleet, pretty much all their ships except for Ophidius, had gold bonus abilities, so that when they unload the coins one at a time, they get maximum bonuses. So for every coin brought back, if it's brought back individually, you get an extra 1 or 2 gold from that coin. So Titan was used pretty conservatively throughout the middle part of this game. So Stefan had the English, she had a more of a defensive posture. So Titan, there was at one point she was able to get an extra action and go through the whirlpool to hit Sea Hag, but he decided not to. And then Rattlesnake was used to give double actions to usually Sea Hag throughout the game, and once in a while Peak or Monarcha. So map Chaos Fleet looking decent. Peak is in a fog bank still with those coins because Lady Provost has the Home Island Raider ability, and the English Home Island and the map Chaos Home Island are quite close together. So the map Chaos Fleet was kind of biding their time. They didn't want to bring gold home and just have it get stolen, so they were kind of going to wait it out in the big fog bank and try to seize an opportune moment later in the game to bring the gold home after the threat had passed or once it was too late to not bring it home, basically. So in this picture, the map Chaos, their other 2 canoes that were still empty, they went to pick up these last 2 coins from the Great Turtle Island that Le Peak had explored. It was just a 2 and a 1, but everything helps, so I might as well pick it up. And then here, the Sea Hag got a double action. So she came out of the fog bank, moved towards this island. Rattlesnake, through GWL, gave up her action to allow Sea Hag to explore this island, and because Monarcha didn't have an explorer, and that way Monarcha was able to grab these 2 coins from this island. So all right, and then here I'll go top to bottom. The Spanish are they brought home a little bit of gold, but they didn't have good opportunities to like smash up targets or find much gold. So the Stefan's Spanish kind of had iffy positioning, and once they lost Monarcha, they were mostly out of the gold race. So Ophidius has stayed submerged pretty much the whole game. She got a glancing blow from an iceberg. I think that was the only iceberg hit, or like the only iceberg mass eliminated throughout the game. So it took out a segment from Ophidius. And then the Spanish have started doing their slow gold strategy, and I'll talk more about that soon because it got really weird actually. So and then Lady Provost and Dover are still docked at the English Home Island. One good thing about them staying docked is it prevents the Great Turtle from being moved. So, and then Titan has actually sunk Monarcha on her way home. So Monarcha had 2 1s aboard from that island in the east that I showed in the previous pick, and then Titan got an extra action to come over from the middle and sink La Monarcha. So the prize was sunk pretty soon after being captured. And then here, the map Chaos Fleet has a way of doing the gold factory strategy too, because Ralph David is on the Rattlesnake, and that's the +2 gold version of Ralph David, not the Eternal version, or the other version. But so a canoe has basically come out of the fog bank to touch Rattlesnake. Rattlesnake didn't have any cargo space available though, so she had to drop the tribal chieftain in order to make room for a coin, and then that coin would get unloaded to the home island with the +2 gold ability. So both of my fleets kind of coincidentally, they weren't like synergized at all, of course, because they were just separate fleets, but they both happened to have a little bit of a gold strategy play going on. So the inflated gold scores was much more pronounced, though. Here it just kind of happened, and it didn't really happen much else throughout the game. So because I wanted to keep this gold in the fog until it was safe to drop off. And also it's really slow. The way this worked on Rattlesnake was just extremely slow. It's actually a flaw in the fleet that I hadn't realized before, because you have to drop an important crew just to make room for the coins that you unload with Ralph David. So it's actually kind of a flaw in the fleet, if anything. And then Sea Hag is camped out in fog as usual, so she's ready to hop at any time. This is where things got pretty weird. So Inflated Gold Scores already had a strategy where they were trying to use Mysterious Islands and gold bonus abilities, and I was using some Mysterious Islands that I've barely used before, and this one got weird. So on a 5 or 6, when you dock at this Mysterious Island, it says, after exploring this island, place a treasure coin from your collection with value equal to or less than one you took on the island. So there was this weird thing that happened where this was empty, because at the beginning of the game it had 4 coins, and like I said early on, when these canoes redocked, when they were here at the beginning of the game, redocked on the first turn, they got a bunch of 1 or 2s. So they moved all the treasure to the northwest corner. But by this point in the game, that northwest corner island, I think, was pretty much empty. But then I realized that the Spanish, they would get less gold total if they just brought the gold home and just unloaded it. And so they basically needed to bring at least 1 coin here, because this didn't have any coins. So, because notice it says less than the one you took. So they had to give an explore action, a free explore action actually, after docking, to dump a coin to this island, and then with a different canoe, they docked, loaded that one up, and then they satisfied this less than the one you took. So they took one, and therefore they satisfied the condition of being able to place a new one. So they basically unloaded a 2, used a different canoe to pick it back up, and then that would generate a new 2 from outside the game that they put on the island. And then another canoe can come in, dock, take it, she would roll first. So the key, of course, was partly dependent on luck, but I had pretty good luck here. I think I rolled 2 or 3 times in a row. I got this 5/6 ability. So it brings up a rules question that I'll ask eventually about whether or not this effect is a one-time thing, which I assumed it was, because it would expire, because it's like, once you use it, then you'd have to roll positively, like a 5 or 6 again, to have it come into effect again. But I kept getting that anyway, like I said. So a canoe would come in, dock, take the coin that I had just generated with the previous docking, and then I rolled again. I rolled high again, so then I placed another one. So there's this weird loop where you can just keep generating coins, especially as long as you have cargo, of course. I started running out of cargo because the Spanish canoes only have 1 each. But yeah, and then what makes it crazier is this effect on a 1 or 2, randomly move 1 treasure coin from this island to another wild island. So I could do what I did in the beginning of the game and send it to that other mysterious island. And that mysterious island has an ability that says, it's something like, if you get a 5 or 6, you can replace one of the coins that you take with one of greater value from your collection. So there's this weird treasure arbitrage where you can't lose, at least in this case, until obviously it gets interrupted and you get sunk by gunships or something. But in this case, it was like, I either roll high and I generate new coins, or I roll low and I throw these to the other mysterious island, where if I roll high there, I up the value. So it was crazy. So I didn't know there was going to be so much synergy, but it just kind of worked out that the Spanish were on the edges of the map the whole time. So they had a home island near Round Earth, like in a corner, and then these mysterious islands happened to be placed in 2 of the other 3 corners. So they were round earthing like crazy. It was almost a little annoying trying to transport them over round earth so often. But anyway, so they were able to use this this treasure arbitrage to their advantage. And the problem was, you can see Titan up there. She started to head south a little bit, so there was a chance this would get interrupted. But in the meantime, I was able to generate some extra coins. And obviously, you can see this is ripe for abuse, just like many other mysterious islands. I was only able to farm it like a little bit for like a couple turns here, but with the right setup and more canoes, this could get really crazy. So especially canoes with more cargo like the American ones, because then you could intentionally dock, only take one, and then generate more. And then they would still, after an entire round of doing that, they would still have another, each have another cargo space open. So you can redock and do the whole thing all over again and generate, up to whatever, 9 or 10 coins over the course of a round or two. And these happen to all be 2s in this case, because it says value equal to or less than what you took. But you can imagine this with like 6s or 7s. There's no reason to decrease the value. You might as well go equal and just keep bringing in, high value coins as high as you can go. So anyway, here Map Chaos had some interesting stuff happen. So Titan basically came down and sank the native canoe that was transferring a coin to Rattlesnake. And I think Stefan was partly doing that to hinder the Map Chaos fleet, and I think he may have been headed to break up this like mysterious island shenanigans that the Spanish were involved in as well. The problem was Sea Hag fog hopped and got another action to come out and blast Titan while docking at my home island to stay safe from any return fire. And I think I got 3 hits from that. Rattlesnake shot. She was given a shoot action and blasted. Yeah, Sea Hag didn't get a extra action this turn. She didn't need one because she just popped out, and then she was within docking distance with the 1 move action. She got a good roll coming out of the fog bank. I had pretty good luck in this game, like better than usual, across UTs, coin distribution, cannons. I had better luck like in general than usual, so including on cannons, which is usually my weak point with luck. So Rattlesnake shot, got another hit, so that was 4 hits. And then with 1 mast left, I made the decision to bring Peak out of the fog bank with her 12 gold aboard, those 2 silver 6s, because I figured I could roll higher than a 1 with the ram, but I didn't. So I rolled a 1 on the ram roll. Neither player wanted to board, so that was it for the actions there. Problem for the Map Chaos fleet is, you can see Lady Provost. I figured it would happen at some point, but yeah, Lady Provost is headed in for a home island raid, and you can see Dover is behind her, likely to back her up. And then the canoes are in the fog because they don't want to bring their gold home and just have it stolen by the Lady Provost. So, and then I got lucky because Stefan did not get an extra action with Titan, so he just pulled the ship into the fog bank, and then the Sea Hag was given an action to blast the Lady Provost and HMS Dover. So actually, I think that's when she got 2 actions. I think she got Rattlesnake's action this turn as well. So she was able to dismass the Lady Provost after Provost had taken a coin, and then Dover got damaged as well. And then Peak went back into the fog bank. I was still kind of hoping to use more gold factory strategy with Ralph David, but turns out they wouldn't really have time for it, because we were starting to. Unfortunately, this game ended due to time, but barely. I think we were probably within a handful of rounds of it ending anyway, and I don't think playing it beyond the time limit would have changed the outcome. I don't really think so. And then the Spanish, basically, since the canoes were full at this point, they kind of decided to head home and take their winnings, basically take their extra gold and go deposit it with the gold bonus ability, of course, because each canoe gets that +1 gold. Isabella was kind of tempted to try to get to this mysterious island, but between this massive reef in the way and then the time running out, it didn't really make sense to do that. So, and then here there was some decent conflict at my Spanish home island. So Stefan's Spanish fleet was itching for some action, and La Santa Isabel actually had Fernando Sanchez aboard. So here she's home island rated my Spanish. So it's kind of like a Spanish Civil War and taking a coin. But Santa Isabel shot at his Santa Isabel, and then Ophidius service to ram and pin his Santa Isabel as well. And then eventually what happened, Acorazado got an extra action from Victor de Alva and from Rise of the Fiends. From Fire and Steel, my bad. Fire and Steel, and then sank or killed Ophidius, which freed up La Santa Isabel. But by that point, Ophidius had already boarded the ship to eliminate the treasure she had stolen. So, and then via Round Earth, the Spanish canoes have returned home, and all three of those would get home to dock and get their +1 bonuses as well. So, at the end, that Dead Man's Chest UT was actually really valuable. So, the way the rounds worked out, we kind of knew, since there was a time limit, we made sure to know like when the last round was. So every fleet had a chance to maximize their score at the end. So this canoe with Dead Man's Chest aboard, she was actually able to transfer it to another one to save it for the last round, because I didn't want to eliminate my crew until the game was about to end. And in this case, Map Chaos benefited a little bit from going last, because they actually had a lot of crew to eliminate. So on the last turn, not just the last round, but the last turn of the last round, Map Chaos was able to bring home the Pirates of the Caribbean version of Dead Man's Chest UT and eliminate 11 crew for +11 gold. They actually almost had enough to win without it, but this put them way over the top. So they already had 27 gold that you can see there, and then with Dead Man's Chest, they eliminated 11 crew to get up to 38 gold. So they won with 38. So Map Chaos had a really good game. They were really happy with how they were able to implement their strategy and still come away with a win. And then my Spanish got second with 28. So they had 22 regular gold. A bunch of it was from gold bonuses, of course. And then they had Sunken Treasure was unloaded earlier in the game from Isabella, and it was worth 6 at that point. So they had 28. And then Stefan's English finished with, I think, 21. So they had Knights of Malta Banner on HMS Titan, and they had some other good coins in Barbary Banner. They actually found both of the banner UTs that the Inflated Gold Scorers fleet contributed. So they came in third, and then Stefan's Spanish were fourth and last with 7 gold. So overall, it was a pretty fun game. There was a little bit of a lull in the middle where there wasn't much, as much combat as you might want. But I think the end game made up for it between the combat we saw and the weird, the Mysterious Island shenanigans combined with the Gold Factory stuff, and then the icebergs moving every single turn, and then the Dead Man's Chest play at the end, and some of the captured ships. So, and HMS Titan and Acorazado, neither was able to shine in full, but at least both of those big gunships got some action in. So overall, I was pretty happy with Map Chaos. They had treasure luck. They had Sea Hag had good luck with the cannons, and it was able to pull off some pretty good and decisive fog bank raids and protect the home island when they needed it most towards the end there. So overall, it was a solid game, and definitely some interesting rules questions came up. And I feel like Mysterious Islands are one of the final frontiers of the Pirates CSG metagame. So these fleets weren't supposed to be competitive at all, but there's definitely an element of whenever you have canoes with Mysterious Island effects, you have this weird automatic potential for abuse, because they start at a wild island, which can be mysterious, and then you have every set of native canoes is 5 individual move actions you can give, so you can redock and trigger the effect over and over again. Which just I don't want to say regardless of the Mysterious Island, but even if you're not trying to abuse the MIs, you end up farming and benefiting from them anyway. So it's just, could be turned into a whole rant. I've already talked about it on Pirates of Benebit. You may have seen some of my thoughts on it in tournament number 3, I think, and some other battle reports. But Anyway, I could write for hours about the potential of mysterious islands and how they affect strategy in the meta game and how you can use canoes to farm and abuse them and stuff. But anyway, it was interesting to see that happen. And these mysterious islands that I used in the inflated gold scores fleet in this game, they were not ones I've used very often. So it kind of shows that even if you don't use like the craziest ones, like the ones that allow for like treasure suction, where you warp the gold to one island, or the one that allows you to bring in UTs from outside the game, those are probably two of the most crazy. Even if you don't use those, you can still really benefit heavily from mysterious islands, especially if you're not attacked while you're like farming them, like redocking and stuff, and especially if you have canoes. So anyway, so it's cool to see Map Chaos do well. They were just happy. They were so happy to see like lots of terrain moving around. The lost roll was a 6, bringing like maximum number of terrain. Native lore was actually used too from Return to Savage Shores. My Spanish fleet found that. So I guess we had 9 terrain brought into the game. So by the end of the game, the map did look a bit different than how we started, which of course is one of the goals with Map Chaos. So anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more battle reports. I'm thinking some of the ones coming up eventually will probably be related to Vassal Campaign Game 4, because as of this recording, my turn is in progress, and the pirate play turn is finished up. They're in the launch phase now, and then of course I still got my other factions. So stay tuned for more CG4 stuff, and thanks for watching.